dirty, dangerous, and difficult. That sums up the industries that often employ migrant workers. Malaysia is the largest importer of labor in Asia. They fill up the low-paying jobs that locals don't want to do.
Of course there is danger. We work with sharp objects and with fire. You must concentrate on the job. That's how the work is. If you don't concentrate, accidents will happen.
It's estimated there are more than 3 million such workers in the country, including those who are illegal. Without enough protection by local laws, it's common for them to suffer abuse, injuries, and even death at work.
If we look at some of the figures that we have for last year, more and more migrant workers are becoming physically disabled through accidents.
I'm Chan Tao Cho. This week on 101 East, we meet those who risk it all to work in Malaysia and ask, is enough being done to keep them safe?
यो पनि पोर्टकेलाङको साथी पोर्टकेलाङमा मेसिनमा काम गर्दा गर्दै पूर्णबहादुर सिलवाल त्यो काम गर्ने क्रममा चाहिँ मेसिनले नाइट ड्युटी गरेको एउटाको चाहिँ हात भाँचिएको छ एउटा चाहिँ यो खुट्टो भाँचिएर पछि यो चाहिँ लाग्यो हैन अहिले पनि उसको चाहिँ दुख्छ मैले इन्स्योरेन्स पाइन भन्दै छु के अहिले यो साथीको पनि पोर्टकेलाङमा पानी जहाजमा काम गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ पानी जहाजबाट लडेर चाहिँ खुट्टा भाँचिएको अनि पछि उपचारहरू गरेर यो त्यही भयो दुईटा अमला छैन हैन यो दुईटा चाहिँ काम लाग्दैन काम गर्दा चाहिँ उसको अझै अचानक मेसिनले हात काट्यो
Bet Kumar Katiwada is a Nepali trade unionist based in Malaysia who helps migrant workers from his country. He says he takes at least 50 distress calls a day, asking for help to deal with insurance compensation, harsh working conditions, and unpaid wages.
हजुर नमस्कार नमस्कार को बोल्नु भएको सर को बोल्नु भएको विष्णु देमान के भएको सर त्यो जाने सिग्नेचर नगर्नु न सिग्नेचर नगर्नुस् है सिग्नेचर चाहिँ नगर्नुस् घर जानको लागि
The calls come from workers across the country.
सर नमस्कार आराम हुन्छ
In the southern state of Malacca, he meets Kadananda Koengkel, a Nepali who works in a food production company.
I was eating when the forklift suddenly swerved and came at me. It smashed my legs. There was no blood, but my ankles were broken. Only my skin held them together. The doctor is joining them back, but he says even the veins have ripped.
The accident 2 months ago left him with both legs fractured and unable to work. The company stopped paying his wages. Kadananda relies on friends to share their food with him.
I worked from 8 in the morning till 11 at night sometimes, with 6 hours overtime. I get $250 or $300. When my legs have healed, I can work again, and I will pay back the money I owe in Nepal.
Kadananda's legs are a long way from healing, but he still owes debtors $1,000 he borrowed to pay a recruitment agent. Such fees can cost up to 5 times more and take workers years to pay off.
When a person comes here to work, they take out a big loan. When they fail to pay it off, they lose their land, their house, everything. This happens a lot. We come here to earn money, but we die here. People lose their fingers, lose their hands, injure their eyes. Some migrant workers go crazy. There are many cases. Some become paralyzed. Some go for operations that fail and they die.
Migrant workers make up nearly a quarter of Malaysia's workforce. Rain or shine, they do menial work in construction sites, factories and plantations for a meager basic pay, clocking many extra hours just to make ends meet. The lack of rest and proper training can come at a price. At the office of the Malaysian Trades Union Congress, or MTUC, a Nepali seeks help getting compensation for a horrendous workplace injury. He doesn't want to reveal who he is, as he's not supposed to be here. Foreign labourers are not allowed to join trade unions, but the MTUC is willing to step in.
If they are not allowed to join the unions, they're not allowed to form association or so, whatever, then these people will be more vulnerable. Nobody is taking care of them.
While the law makes it compulsory for employers to take up an insurance scheme for migrant workers, compensation can be a long, slow process. With the union's intervention, this man received $2,300 months after losing his fingers. But he's among the lucky ones.
How many accidents happens, death, unreported death, And we had been complaining this to the ministry several times. In fact, we have brought them here, some losing their hands, even their arm. You see, but these people are not compensated.
But Malaysia's Human Resources Minister says compensation delays are rare.
Sometimes, of course, what happens in the case of death, the problem is in identifying who is the next of kin. The next of kin is in another country. Identifying who is the one legitimate and coming, that might be the issue. But in terms of accidents, compensation is very fast.
The death of a worker is 20,000 ringgit, which is about $6,500. Do you think that's sufficient to present yourself as a country that's responsible to care for migrant workers?
That is a debatable issue, of course. What is sufficient, what is not sufficient? Who is going to define it? Okay.
But what do you think?
I mean, if the people feel that has to be increased, then they have to raise it through the proper channels for it to be discussed, so that for that to be relooked again. But at the present time, that is the figure and that is the compensation.
In a migrant workers' dormitory in Johor, southern Malaysia, Dipendra Oli's best friend, Arjun, died in his sleep a few weeks ago. The man came from the same village in Nepal to work in a factory that produces plastic parts. Arjun was only 30 years old. They shared this bunk bed.
यस्तो 12 बजेसम्म त यस्तो उतामा परे सुतेको थियो यस्तो गरेर एक पैसा लगाएर यस्तो सुनिरहेको थियो अनि बिहान हेर्दा यस्तो कोल्टो परेको थियो उतातिर यसरी फर्केको थियो यस्तो यस्तै सुतेको थियो सर खुट्टा पनि जोडेको थियो हातमा यस्तो जोडेर छोडेको यस्तो हात जोडेर सुतेको थियो सबै साथीहरूलाई बोलाइम पछि धेरैजसोले हल्ला आउँदा पछि चाल नगर्दासम्म यस्तो भएछ भन्ने कुरा पछि थाहा भयो उसको सामान एउटा मोबाइल छ यसो यो मोबाइल हो अनि त्यसपछि उसको पर्स छ पर्समा 5 ringgit मात्रै थियो अरु कागज पत्र छ उसको डायरीहरु छ फोटा पनि छ सर यसको फोटा यस्तो छ हजुर एउटा राखेको छ 1040 बुझाएको छ सर जुलाई महिनाको रहेछ
You did a lot of OT to get that money?
Every day OT, Sunday.
So no rest days for the whole month? Arjun's friends say he had no apparent health problems. His death remains a shock to the workers and his family. Arjun's wife still calls his mobile phone.
उले भन्छ आफ्नो मोबाइलमा फोन आन्छ फोन लागेपछि मेरो बुढा चाहिँ बित्या छैन फोन जान्छ त्यही गाली गर्छ न ल भन्छ त्यस्तै
A post-mortem reveals Arjun died from a heart attack. It's a common conclusion for these so-called sudden deaths. Out of more than 200 Nepali workers who died in Malaysia last year, 1 in 5 suffered a fatal cardiac arrest, says the embassy here. But little is done to investigate the cause. Over a phone call, the factory's human resources manager says they've referred the case to their insurance company.
赔偿多少呢？
看咯，这个是保险公司自己的估计，信件一定要从他们自己的家属那边出了，我们才可以把遗体遣送回去啊。现在是等他们的信件到大使馆了。
Experts find it hard to pin down the cause of such deaths.
Why did they die? Young guys, physically very active, working very hard, generally stressed, Malnourished on the other side, going to bed, getting up dead. Cause of death found to be ventricular fibrillation. We have ASEAN declaration.
Dr. Krishna Gopal Rampal is an expert on occupational safety and health.
Because the heart is beating very, very fast, the ventricles in the heart, which basically pump blood out to the organs in the body, right, are not able to work effectively. The individual dies suddenly. We know that most of these migrant workers who are here are working under conditions which are stressful. They also are working long hours. They have left their families at home. Some of them depressed, even like nutrition. They will also try to save on the food that they're eating so that they're able to send the money home. All of that contributes.
Irene Fernandez of non-governmental organization Tenaganita says more than 1,000 foreign workers died here last year. Only a fraction received payment from the government's Workmen's Compensation Act.
If we put the statistics together, we are talking about at least 4 to 5 deaths a day. Now, this for me is tremendous because there's very little discussion on it.
The government disputes the figure. It recorded fewer than 500 migrant worker deaths this year.
You are telling about 1,200 fellows die a year. I mean, how can...
These are the figures from high commissions and embassies of the source countries.
Which is not true, not true. It's absolutely not true. There's no base. You see, I think our Labour Department is informed on all deaths of foreign workers. We keep tab of that. The rate of industrial accidents in Malaysia is one of the lowest in this region. Ours is about 5.2 per 1,000 workers.
Critics say accidents in construction sites make up a big part of the statistics, as safety is poorly enforced.
Unfortunately, what we often see is workers falling from a great height, slipping over very often. Also, we've seen workers working with power tools, and when they're on an unsecured platform, there's absolutely no harness or no safety barriers to protect them from a fall in case there's wind, in case there's some form of slip from working with the materials. You can also see they're not wearing helmets, which is a basic safety requirement on these construction sites.
So this is obviously a dangerous job. Why do you think there's such a slack attitude towards general safety?
Migrant workers are often paid less, so there's an attitude from employers and contractors that these people can simply come in and do the job quickly. There's also the attitude of, like I said just then, these people. They're different, they're not us, and so maybe the same rules and regulations don't apply as much. I think migrant workers, their voice isn't as loud as Malaysian workers often, and so that means that they're unseen.
Thousands of migrant workers live in this community in Kapah, an industrial town tucked away on the west coast of peninsular Malaysia. On Sundays, the area comes alive, with migrant workers setting up shop to cater to each other's daily needs. Muhammad Harun Rashid is a familiar face here. He has helped many of them with injury compensations. The workers live in basic conditions. There are 22 sharing this dormitory.
উপরে বেড আছে নিচে বেড আছে আমরা সব নিচেই থাকি উপরে থাকা লাগে না একজন থাকা লাগে আমাদের 300 টাকা বেসিক করব কিন্তু ওখানে করে কি না কইতে না আমরা 550 টাকা বেসিক পাইতেছি তো আমাদের আর ওখানে যে কাজ কম বাইতে টাকা পাইতে না পাড়া ভাই কইতেছে
ওকে আপনার এটা কি ঘটছে এটা বলেন তো স্টোরিটা কি হইছিল
একটা লোয়ার ইয়া থাকে পাত থাকে দুটো আমরা ধাক্কা দিত তো ওই ধাক্কা কি করছে মেশিন অটো হয়ে আমার হাতের মধ্যে পড়ে গেছিল আর আমার কাছে কোনো লোক ছিল না আমি মনে করেন এখান থেকে ধরেন না মাথার ওই মাথায় যাইছি ছিলে তখন আমাদের লোকজন আসে ধরে আমার হাসপাতালে নিয়ে ভর্তি করাইলো কোম্পানি গিয়া লগ যায় না অপারেশনের পরে যায় আমাদের সাথে দেখা
Momin's hand was severed in April, but he says without his company's approval to proceed with the surgery, the doctor only stitched it back. He's been unable to work since, but there's been no insurance payout. Momin's company still pays him a basic wage of $200 a month while he waits to fix his hand.
ডাক্তারে দেখাইছে ডাক্তার আবার ডেট দিয়েছে ও বলছে যাইব যাইব বলছে কি ও ডেট মতন যায় না এমনভাবে যাইব যে ডাক্তার যেদিন থাকবো না ওই দিন যাইব
এন্ড আপনার অ্যাক্সিডেন্ট পরে লেবার কোর্টে কোনো ইন্স্যুরেন্সের জন্য ক্লেম করছিল
না
It is difficult for the migrant worker to seek redress, mainly because that the moment he files a case in court, the employer cancels his work permit and he becomes undocumented.
Many migrant laborers stay on after their work permits are cancelled or expire to keep earning. There are more than 1 million such illegal workers in Malaysia. Being undocumented puts them at greater risk of exploitation.
A worker even can't claim for unpaid wages if he is undocumented. When they have an accident or when something happens, they cannot claim medical benefits even.
Most of Malaysia's migrant workers come from Indonesia, Bangladesh, Nepal and Myanmar. To tackle the high number of illegal foreign workers here, last year the government launched a program called 6P to grant them amnesty. More than 1 million registered to get work permits. Outside the Bangladesh High Commission, we find undocumented workers upset that they've yet to be legalized. They say thousands of Bangladeshis paid up to $1,300 each to a manpower agency called Akhwan Group to help them apply for the program. Some suspect the company swindled them. Abdul Kadir is one of those who handed them his passport for registration more than a year ago and hasn't seen it since. Kadir works in a factory in Perak State, north of the capital Kuala Lumpur, making knives for industrial and agricultural use.
I need to have my passport. Of course, I'm scared that I don't have it because immigration authorities will arrest us. That's the issue.
Kadir and 6 of his co-workers from Bangladesh are afraid to leave the factory.
Yes, I have friends who were arrested. They still haven't been released.
Despite the tough working conditions, the workers consider themselves lucky to be working for a boss who cares for their safety and pays them on time. Dave Chen helped them apply for the 6P amnesty program last year, but found the paperwork too complicated.
The Bangladeshis recommended Akhwan Group. They said it's a very big company and the boss is from Bangladesh. So I went to them. They have a big office and I saw many people handing over their passports. There were large boxes full of passports. I thought since so many people trusted them, I let them handle my kids as well.
Dave paid the company, based in Kuala Lumpur, more than $5,000 to help register and legalize 7 workers.
From the beginning, I helped them to follow up with the agent. I think I went more than 10 times, almost every month. He kept delaying and it went on for more than a year. Finally, I gave up and reported this to the police.
But Dave says he's not getting much help from the authorities.
No, that is their own problem.
No, when the bosses look at the paperwork, they're not aware, they don't know how to handle it, they don't know, because
then they should report such things, you see.
So you're not aware about the situation with this company called Akhwan?
I know, I'm not. They might have reported to Home Ministry, not to me. I'm not aware of that.
Hello.
Hello, is this Mr. Sirajul Amin from Akhwan?
Yes.
Hi, my name is...
We tracked down the CEO of Akhwan Group on the phone. Sirajul Amin is a Bangladeshi based in Malaysia. I asked him about the fraud allegations.
Their permit is done. Some people are advertising my name and my company name. So that's what I say. If you come to my office, you can see on your own eyes I did my job or not. That's all.
Okay, how can I make an appointment with you at your office?
Okay, right now I'm in Bangladesh now. So you tell me when you can come. I'll come back to from Bangladesh.
What about any manager there? Anybody else I can speak to before you arrive?
Can. Would you mind to SMS me your name and number? So I tell my manager to communicate with you. They will make arrangement for you. Do me a favor.
But no one from his office follows up. We chase them for 2 weeks before we get a meeting with 2 senior staff members. Dave comes along, filming with a hidden camera. I try to verify the CEO's claim that the permits are done. Instead, his staff say despite their repeated efforts over the past year, immigration authorities rejected Dave's application, but they don't know why.
You are not the only company that the approval is not out yet.
If we say we help you, we are still trying.
Okay, may I know what is the latest attempt?
Okay. This is a very sensitive issue to talk about.
If he goes, he can directly submit to that.
When is the last time you did anything and what did you do?
Okay. Even a week before.
Sorry?
Week before we tried talking. You try many times already. 1 year already. What? Still cannot. Okay.
You don't want us to try to say.
So where are the passports right now?
But you just okay. I'm really finding difficulties to understand the issue here.
So you've submitted it, right?
I need to know what is the purpose of that question.
You come because you want to investigate because there were allegations that we cheated them. So let's focus on the cheating part.
So why don't you want to tell me where the passport is?
I don't think it's relevant.
We talk for more than an hour. Then they finally leave the room and return with the passports for Dave's workers and a check for a full refund. They maintain most of their applications have been successful, but refuse to reveal any figures. Cheap labor from countries like Bangladesh is vital to the Malaysian economy. But following concerns over problems with employment agents, Malaysia banned new work permits for Bangladeshi workers in 2007. It plans to lift the ban next year, and the 2 countries want to get rid of such agencies acting as middlemen so that hiring is done on a government level. But it hasn't stopped illegal recruitment. In May, Zahid Muhammad borrowed more than $4,000 to pay an agent who promised him a job in Malaysia in 3 months. His bags are packed, but is still waiting in his village. Next year, Malaysia is hiking its minimum basic wage for migrant workers from $180 a month to $300. That's big money for Zahid.
If I work here as a day labourer, I can earn at best $50 to $60 a month. If I go to Malaysia, I can earn around $300, $350. I can sustain my family with that kind of money.
Since 2004, more than 10,000 Bangladeshi workers have returned home in a body bag, most of them under 40 years old. 400 died in Malaysia last year, and few qualified for compensation, says the Bangladesh High Commission in Kuala Lumpur. But none of that is stopping Zahid.
If I can go to Malaysia, I'll come back at least 5 years later with 3 to 4 months leave. Within this time, I'll repay all my debts. I'll buy land to build a house because we don't have one. After that, I'll go to Malaysia again and work for as long as I can. Then I'll come home to Bangladesh and set up a cattle farm.
It's a common dream for all migrant workers. But the reality takes a cruel twist far too often.